Hello, and welcome to the Louise Elizabeth podcast. I am your host, Louise, and I am a 620-hour trauma-informed registered yoga teacher. I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I am a professional network marketer, and recently I have opened up a new business in the short-term rental field. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and this is your holistic health podcast. So health is integrated. There's many aspects to health. Health is how you live your life. It's how you feed your body, you feed your mind, how you spend your time. It is mind, body, and soul, and working on all of those things really is health to its core. So in this podcast, I dive into all topics relating to holistic health, how health is integrated, and this podcast is here to help support you in finding your own balance, finding your own flow in your life so that you can feel the absolute best, the absolute most aligned, and really just feeling at home in your own health and your own journey and how you live that life. So welcome, and here is today's episode.
Day 6, let's sleep. I know I've talked about this on the podcast, and if I don't remember what episode, I'll have to go and look at it, but I'm pretty sure I've done a whole episode on sleep on the podcast in the past. But I wanted to talk about sleep. So I know that, Janelle, you've been sharing a lot about your sleep routine, but also it's just something that I actually had this thought when I woke up this morning about how good I felt and how rested I felt. And I was just like, that was good. And got out of bed, and I was just thinking about it, and he was like, you know what? Day 6 is going to be about sleep. So first off, let's talk about the mindset behind sleep. So a lot of people, especially women, like to cut themselves short, right? Especially moms like to cut themselves short, right? So it's like, okay, I finally have time to myself. I'm just going to sit here and scroll on my phone, or I finally X, Y, and Z. I'm just going to sit here and scroll, or I finally have a minute. I'm just going to sit here, right? So the thing is I get the mindset. Like I get it. Like I just cut short on sleep. I need more time. So what can I cut on? And it's usually sleep is the first thing. Funny enough, when it's one of the things that really impact how you feel and really impact your overall well-being, like up there with a lot of things, right? What happens when we don't get a good night of sleep? We tend to kind of thrive off of caffeine. Not that thriving is the word, but we tend to use caffeine to thrive. And so it's really just a vicious routine, and then the adrenals get drained, and then the adrenals aren't functioning. So when you're sleeping, hormones are pumping through you. So it's not just like you go to sleep and that's it, like, right? Like there's actually a lot going on behind the scenes. And when we lack nutrition and when we lack nutrients, that actually really affects our sleep and being able to sleep properly, because our adrenals need nutrients to produce hormones, and we need hormones producing to sleep properly and go through that cycle. So I won't actually get through the cycle of it. But the first step is really considering your mindset around sleep. I used to have an interesting mindset, but my mindset always comes back to snowboarding. Anything on my health journey, it all comes back to snowboarding, I swear. I just knew that if I was sleeping better, I was snowboarding better, and I was able to wake up and have more energy to go snowboarding. So that was like something that I just like stubbornly brought into my routine before I even really truly understood how important sleep was, even though I used to, like, I was 21 once and would drink till 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. and have to work at 8 a.m. and somehow stayed awake all day and was able to function. Like I've been there, I've done that. But what was really the driver for me was like, okay, I want energy to go snowboarding. So that was like my driver in my unintentional journey with sleep. And then it's just something that I've just realized, like if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, like I'm pretty grumpy, I'm pretty tired, and I am a high energy gal, and I don't like being tired. It's not even just like, I'm kind of tired. It's just like, it's one of those things that makes me so upset when I am it, if that makes sense. Like we've all got our things, I think, and for me, sleep, if I'm tired, I'm just like so agitated by it because I don't like napping. I find napping makes me feel more tired. So I'm just like, I just want to get my sleep in and then have a great day and be energized for the day, you know? Like, and I get that that's not for everybody, but that is definitely a big part of my health routine is like sleep. That is the one thing I won't cut myself on. If I stay up a little bit later because I needed to get work done because maybe my day didn't go as planned, I will wake up later the next morning. Like that is something I will not cut myself on anytime, ever, is sleep. Never, 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 never. So I'll cut corners on what I'm eating for dinner. I'll cut corners on how I exercise, but sleep is the one thing that I absolutely will not cut corners on. So the first step with sleep and changing your routine with it and having a better routine with it is for sure the mindset. So one is believing that you can do it instead of just saying, oh, well, I'm just a bad sleeper. Oh, well, I'm just this. Oh, well, I'm just that. Oh, well, I'm a light sleeper. Oh, well, I'm this. I'm a light sleeper too. And my dog likes to pace around. Like, it's really just a mindset thing. And then starting to recognize like, okay, these are the things that are affecting my sleep, and then changing those things. It is possible to be a good sleeper, whatever that means. It is possible to get a good night of rest. And then the other side of the mindset thing is you also have to consider what you're doing in the hours leading up to bed, that what is going to go on in here. Are you going to go to bed and start thinking about everything you didn't do that day? Are you going to go to bed and start worrying about everything you have to do tomorrow? Are you going to go to bed and start worrying about how you're going to pay the bills? Like, I get it. We're all humans. We all have stressors, right? That comes back to stress management, which we've kind of talked about a few times up until this point, is recognizing what's on your mind. So the first step's awareness. You have to know what's on your mind and what's going to distract you, and then what you can do to clear your mind. Journaling, meditating. Sometimes for those of you that are like, I just don't know, I'm just so stressed, literally it's as easy as saying to yourself, I will not think about this. I will not think about this. I will not let this be on my mind. Like, it's that simple sometimes. And don't get me wrong, like, I understand those thoughts are going to try and come back, and they're going to try and come back, and then you need to be like, no, I'm not thinking about this right now. No, I'm not going down that wormhole right now. No, I'm not beating myself up right now. And this is why the health thing is a whole umbrella, right? It's not just like we do one thing and it impacts how we feel on all aspects. It's multiple things, because if you're working on your self-love, that means you're working on the thoughts that are going on in your head. That means you're less likely to go to bed and sit there and beat yourself up all the time, because your worthiness of yourself is up here, if that makes sense, right? So like, it's all an umbrella and it all overlaps. And that's why at the end of the day, health really is that simple. That's why we're doing back to basics, but it all integrates as well. So it's different things to think about. So when you're going to bed, notice what's on your mind. What can you do to get that off your mind? I'll give the example, and I'm going to literally do a post on this today, is Saturday, my day didn't quite go as planned. I didn't get as much work as I wanted done. We didn't have any cleans for our cleaning business. I was like, sweet, like I'm going to do a big laptop day, but it was a beautiful day out. My partner just got home from work, and I was like, okay, I'll do my work in the afternoon. I'll have a nice slow morning with him. We'll drink some coffee. We'll go climbing, and then I'll come back and I'll just be like, do. I was more fatigued than I realized. I went climbing. I got back, and it took so much pep talk with myself to go to the grocery store and buy food. Like, it was really difficult to get myself up and out of a chair and going. Never mind making the list. Never mind just like gathering my thoughts to think about what I wanted to eat. So I was there, and so I came home, made dinner, and I did like maybe 30 minutes. Like, I didn't even go close to what I wanted. And I started to beat myself up. And then I recognized it, right? I'm on this journey of paying attention to my own thoughts. And two things that came up. One was, and this one's not the one that's in the post. The one's in the post you'll see. But this one was, okay, wait a minute, Louise. You also are recognizing that when you're an entrepreneur and how you want to do business is different than what you've been taught, because your reality is that you get to go in flow with life, in flow with your cycle, in flow with how you're feeling. That doesn't mean that you're not worthy. That doesn't mean because you didn't do as much work as you wanted to that your business is going backwards. Like, sometimes doing nothing, your business still goes forward. And I had to have that pep talk with myself. That was the first one. And then the second one is when I was going to bed, I started thinking about all the things I wanted to do today that I didn't get to do. And I literally said to myself, and I'm just going to pre-frame, I'm about to drop an F-bomb. I said, Louise, tomorrow's a new fucking day. Literally said that to myself. I was like, tomorrow's a new fucking day. Let it go. You get to start fresh tomorrow. The sooner you go to bed, the sooner you stop thinking about this, the sooner you wake up, you get to rewrite your story for tomorrow. And I went to bed, didn't worry once, woke up, slept through the night, didn't worry the next morning. I was just in that mind frame. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's freaking do this, right? So mindset is a big part of when we go to bed. And the first step is awareness, which go back to day one. I think we talked about it, right? So you have to recognize what's on your mind when you go to bed if you're someone that you struggle to fall asleep. That's one. Two, get off your freaking phone. Get off the phone. Stop watching TV before bed. Stop doing things that put you down those wormholes. Because 90% of the time when we are I'm going to be bold enough to say 99% of the time when we're in our heads beating ourselves up, it's probably because we were on our phones. It's probably because we've let our mind just wander off for the last 2 hours while we're scrolling mindlessly or whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, I love funny reels. I like to sit and laugh at reels, okay? But you have to be intentional with what you're doing. You can't just mindlessly scroll on Instagram, not pay attention to your thoughts because your ego is over here talking away and you don't have any idea because you're just right? I'm going to say it and I don't care what anybody says to me. Get off your phone before bed. The light is not good for you. The light doesn't promote melatonin to start producing. And 99% of the time, it sends us down the wormhole. Now, the Netflixing and watching movies before bed, I'm going to say do it as a special occasion, okay? I get it. We like our shows. I get it. We want to watch a movie. We want to turn our brain off. But that's another mindless thing, right? If you want to turn your brain off using the TV, that's not the way to do it. If you want to watch a show because you want to watch it, cool. That's different. But if you want to turn your brain off through watching a movie, nothing about your brain turns off. It's an opportunity for all those thoughts that you haven't processed to start processing and doing it in a way where you're not conscious about it. And then you go to bed and there you are beating yourself up. Right? So if you're going to do things that involve screens before bed, be really intentional about them. Set the light down low. Get your phone out of your room. Stop scrolling before bed. Stop answering emails before bed. Stop answering text messages before bed. Stop all the things that you know you're not supposed to do on your phone. And I'm going to say supposed to do. I don't like to use that as a nutritionist. That's one of the things when my clients say, well, I should do this. I'm like, no. Shouldn't do anything. It's either you want to or you don't want to. But I will say you shouldn't be on your phone before bed. And I think we all know that, and I think we can all agree on that. Now, other things that you can do to help promote sleep is starting to give yourself that sleep vibe. So I understand depending where you live in the world, this time of year, it's very bright at nighttime, but close the curtains, make it dark, turn on lamps, turn off the big lights. I've just discovered this in the last 2 months. You can get Bluetooth light bulbs, so you can turn them down, you can set the mood, really just start to do those things to decompress. Definitely don't check your emails, definitely don't check your phones. And the big thing also with sleep is give yourself enough time in bed. Okay, so what I mean by that is the saying usually is you want to have 7 to 9 hours of sleep, ideally, right? So, but what a lot of people do, they'll go to bed at 10 p.m. and they'll say, okay, 7 hours from now is 5 a.m. and they'll wake up at 5. They'll set their alarm for 5. But the reality is most of us take 20 or 30 minutes to fall asleep, at least on average, right? Me, it takes me a bit. Actually, I could probably fall asleep on the dot, but I love to read my nonfiction book and I save that for before bed. So that's the other thing is a lot of people are cutting themselves short, right? So it's not just the going to sleep and falling asleep. It's also the what you're doing as far as how much time you're giving yourself. So give yourself an extra half an hour in bed. Give yourself, especially if you're waking up and you're feeling kind of fatigued, especially if you're waking up and you're snoozing, give yourself another 30 minutes or so before you go to bed. Set that intention, I'm going to use 30 minutes to read a book. If you don't like reading, just lay there, give yourself time to fall asleep. Count the sheep. I don't care what anybody says, it works. Yeah, okay, I could only get to 2, Louise, before I get distracted. Yeah, welcome to the club. That was me too. And then you start again. You're oh wait, no, I'm thinking about this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gosh, I'm thinking about this thing. Start again. 1, 2. It works. It takes your brain off of thinking about things. Okay? So 2 reasons why or 2 things about cutting yourself short on sleep. Just one reason. The reason you don't want to do it is, I'm not going to get into the whole science of it. Why We Sleep is a really great resource to go read. But the first half-ish is the word, okay? The start of your sleep, you go through the cycles. And in those cycles, that's where your body's repairing itself. So in those sleep cycles are approximately, I think they're 45 to 90 minutes or so. Again, don't quote me on that. I haven't read the book in a while. But you're going through the sleep cycles. And in that first chunk, it's your body repairing. And in the second chunk, it's your mind repairing. So most people who cut themselves short on sleep are cutting their brain short on getting that time to kind of process and reset. Those of us that remember those big computers and resetting those computers and the dial-up, the loading, that's the time where your brain's kind of loading. So when you cut yourself short on it, your brain's not clear. Then you wake up and that's why you're foggy, you can't think clear, your emotions are all over the place, like all of that, right? So the eating thing, I mentioned that. You want lots of food in your adrenals. And now I'm going to talk about snoozing. Honestly, 15 minutes live is not enough time to talk about sleep. But snoozing, okay? You do not actually get more sleep. Unless you have the time to go back to sleep for about 45 minutes, 30 to 45, and I'll say 45 minutes because it probably takes you a minute or two to fall asleep. You're not actually going through a sleep cycle again, so you're not actually gaining any more sleep. It's just you think you are, but you're not. And in fact, it's making you more sleepy and more tired, right? Because you're in that I'm not asleep, I'm not awake. So I get it. I used to press snooze. I get it, okay? But what is going to serve you so much better is if you're okay, I press snooze 3 times because I know that gets me till 6:30. That's when I actually have to get out of bed. Set the alarm for 6:30. Set the alarm for when you usually snooze to. Get out of bed at that time. Just get out of bed. Don't snooze. You might feel more tired in that moment and we're I gotta get out of bed. But I promise you, you will not be more tired because of it. You will actually be more energized because of it. You'll wake up properly because of it, and you won't be in that weird hazy in-between state, okay? What else do I want to say about sleep in my time frame here? I think that's it. Work on the mindset. Work on the bedtime routine. Get out of bed. Just get out of bed and stop cutting yourself short on sleep. Most of us, I'm going to say almost every client I've worked with cuts themselves short on sleep. Almost every client I work with, if they're cutting corners, it's on their sleep routine, and it's not the one that you want to be cutting corners on. Your body needs it, your mind needs it. You need nutrients in your body to sleep properly. You need to clear your mind to sleep properly, so maybe doing a meditation before bed or something actually work at clearing your head. Go and sit and meditate, get things off your mind, journal, whatever it is. If you have things on your mind, get them off before you get into bed. And then when you get into bed, practice something, counting, reading a book. And when I say reading a book, read something that's not you're trying to learn. Actually read something fiction or a story, something that you're not trying to process and retain, because you're more likely to stay awake because of it, right? And then no snooze. I think that's all I wanted to say about sleep. Yeah, so let me talk about there's so much I could say about sleep. And again, I think I've done a podcast episode. I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, so your assignments for today on the live are, what is your sleep routine like now? What could you do to be more efficient with it? And what are 1 to 3 habits to implement that you know are going to support your sleep? Now, I'll give you a little clue on some of these answers. Some of them are very simple. They're not complex. They're not this big fancy secret that you don't know about. You know what you need to do. We all know what we need to do, and really starting to implement those things. So thanks for listening. Today I'm announcing the winner, and it's funny because Janelle, you're on live, and you are week 1's winner for a Revitalize bundle.